The desert night was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that made you feel like the world had stopped turning. The sky was clear, a blanket of stars stretched across the heavens, and the full moon cast an eerie glow over the barren landscape. I was driving along a lonely stretch of road in the Navajo Nation, my headlights slicing through the darkness. The occasional rustle of wind against the sagebrush was the only sound to break the stillness. I had been visiting a friend in the small town of Shiprock, nestled against the looming rock formation that gave the town its name. As a journalist, I had come to learn about the Navajo way of life, their stories, and their struggles. What I hadn't expected was to leave with something more. A warning that now echoed in my mind. Don't speak of them. Don't think of them. And for the love of all that is holy, do not look them in the eyes. The words played on repeat in my head as I navigated the empty road. My friend had spoken them to me with a grave seriousness after sharing tales of the Skinwalkers, beings of dark magic, feared by the Navajo for their ability to transform into any animal and wield unspeakable powers. At the time, I had dismissed it as just another local legend, a piece of folklore. But now, in the stillness of the night, with nothing but the desert around me, those stories felt all too real. Suddenly, my headlights caught something moving on the side of the road. A figure, no, an animal, was standing just outside the reach of the light. A coyote, its eyes glinting in the moonlight. I slowed down, curiosity getting the better of me. But something about the way it stood there, watching me, sent a chill down my spine. The coyote didn't move as I approached. It just stood there, staring, its eyes almost human in their intensity. I tried to shake off the unease and pressed on the gas, wanting to get past it and leave the unsettling encounter behind. But as I passed, the coyote did something that turned my blood cold. It stood up on its hind legs, as if trying to mimic a human. My heart pounded in my chest as I sped up, glancing nervously in my rearview mirror. The coyote was still there, but now it was following me, its form shifting and distorting in the moonlight. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter, and I cursed under my breath, trying to rationalize what I had just seen. Animals don't walk like that. They don't change shape. As the road wound through a narrow canyon, the coyote disappeared from view, but my sense of dread only deepened. My friend's words came back to me, and I felt a knot of fear tighten in my stomach. Skinwalkers can take on the form of any animal they choose, he had said. They're witches, evil ones, who've given up their humanity for power. They'll use that power to harm others, to cause disease, death, and destruction. I glanced at the passenger seat where my camera sat, wondering if I had just missed the story of a lifetime or if I was being stalked by something far more sinister. The road stretched on, the darkness closing in around me like a living thing. I fought the urge to keep looking in the mirror to see if the coyote, or whatever it was still following. Then, up ahead, I saw it again. Not the coyote, but a large, shadowy figure crossing the road in the distance. It was too big to be a coyote, and it moved with a strange, unnatural gait. I slowed down as I approached, and my breath caught in my throat when I realized what it was. A bear. But this bear wasn't like any I'd seen before. It was walking on two legs, its eyes glowing an unnatural red in the darkness. I slammed on the brakes, my car skidding to a stop just a few feet from the creature. It stood there, staring at me, and I could feel its gaze piercing through the windshield. My friend's voice echoed in my mind. Never look a skinwalker in the eyes. It gives them power over you. But I couldn't look away. I was frozen, paralyzed by fear, as the bear's form began to shift and change, its fur receding, its limbs elongating, until it stood there, in the middle of the road, as a man with eyes that still glowed red in the dark. I gasped, my heart racing as the Skinwalker, smiled at me, his expression twisted and malevolent. I had heard the stories, but nothing could have prepared me for the reality. I was face to face with a being that wasn't supposed to exist, something born of nightmares and dark magic. I tore my gaze away, fumbling for the gear shift, desperate to get away. The engine roared to life and I floored the gas pedal, swerving around the Skinwalker. But as I sped away, I saw movement in the corner of my eye. Another figure, this time an owl, its wings outstretched as it swooped down towards my car. Its eyes glowed just like the others. I screamed, ducking as the owl struck the windshield with a loud thud, cracking the glass. I kept driving, tears streaming down my face, my mind racing with terror and confusion. What had I done to deserve this? Why were they after me? The road seemed endless, the night even darker than before. I knew I couldn't stop, not until I was far away from this cursed place. But no matter how fast I drove, the feeling of being watched never left me. I could sense them, the Skinwalkers, lurking just out of sight, waiting for me to make a mistake. Finally, the lights of a distant town appeared on the horizon, and I let out a shaky breath, praying that I could make it there safely. As I pulled into the town, the weight of the night lifted slightly, the presence of other people giving me a false sense of security. But I knew the truth. The Skinwalkers were still out there, watching, waiting. I parked my car outside a small motel and stumbled inside, my legs trembling. The clerk gave me a concerned look, but I waved him off, too shaken to explain. I just needed to get inside, lock the door, and try to forget what I had seen. But as I lay in the darkness of my room, the images of the night replayed over and over in my mind. The coyote, the bear, the owl, and the man with glowing eyes. I knew that I would never forget them, that I had witnessed something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. And as I drifted into a restless sleep, one final thought crossed my mind. The stories were true. The Skinwalkers were real, and they were far more terrifying than any legend could ever capture.